x divided by 0. Okay, now you run this code. This is called arithmetic exception. Okay, this is called arithmetic exception. This line of code executed, first line of code executed. So now for this line of code, exception thrown as arithmetic exception. After that, if n number of statements are there, int x is equal to 6, one more integer y is equal to 7. Now if you want to get sum of these two numbers, int sum is equal to x plus y. Okay, now if you want to get sum of these, if you want to get sum of you copy this one, now you paste here. So now you call that sum variable, sum, that sum variable holding, it is an integer type of sum variable, so holds sum of x plus y. Okay, now you run this code, what happens? So sum cannot be resolved to a variable, because this here you are requesting for sum, but you have declared it as a sum, so you declare it as sum. Now you will get the result. So now what is happening, let us see. So here compiler stating that duplicate local variable. Okay, duplicate local variable, no issue. You change this as, so means you have declared x here, one more x you have declared. It is compiler stating that a variable is duplicated, so you keep this as x1, there is no any issue. If you run this code, so here what happened, why it is giving error, because x1 is equal to 5. After that, this statement you are writing here x by 0, but there is no any x. Next line of code is x here. Okay, so you change this as x1, there is no any issue if you run this code. So now here exception occurred. Exception occurred at which line? Try to understand. Java 22 line. Here in 22 line exception occurred. So as I told you that what is exception? Exception is a abnormal condition. Exception is an abnormal condition, otherwise it is an event. It will be thrown as an object. So I will show that object is what? Arithmetic exception. This exception name is, it is an it will be thrown as an object. Okay, so exception occurs. So normal flow of control. Flow of control means next line of code to be executed, na? So this line of code, it was not executed. So this line, this flow of execution disrupts, stops at this line, 22 line. So if 1000 line of code is there, exception occurs at this line, 22 line. After that, next line of code will not be executed. So flow of execution stops at that line where execution occurs, exception occurs. So that exception to be handled, that is called exception handling. So now this is called this is called runtime error. Runtime, this exception is called runtime error. Why runtime error? Syntax errors will be detected at the compilation time. After the compilation, when the code is being executed, that moment exceptions occur at runtime. So runtime means whenever the code is being run, code is being executed to give the result. So this result, okay. So that moment, whatever the errors, if any occurs there, runtime, there are runtime occurs. So exception occurs. Now that exception is called arithmetic. So many exceptions are there. Arithmetic exception, index out of bound exception, input output exception. I will explain some word exceptions here. Some expressions I want to write here. Examples. Exceptions. Some exceptions I want to write here. One is the arithmetic exception. Okay. That is what index out of bound exception. I will explain what is index out of bound exception. Okay. Arithmetic exception, index out of bound exception. Okay. Next is what? Input IO exception. IO exception. So many you need to understand. Exception. Okay, next is what? IO, input output exception. Okay. Next, like the so many exceptions. So now come how to handle. Now this is what this exception. What is this exception? Arithmetic exception. It is either just I want to ask the class question from my side. This exception, whether it is the runtime error, otherwise your compilation time error, compile time error. So it is the runtime error. At the compilation time, these errors they will not be identified by the compiler. Okay. At the time of execution, so whenever the machine code 0,1 that is being executed to give the result, you can see, so that you can see on the screen as a programmer. So that time, execution time, these exceptions will be thrown as an objects. Okay. So now how to handle, that is very important. That is called topic exception handling. How to handle the runtime errors so that the flow of execution of program will be continued, maintained. Otherwise, disruption will be there. It is as I told you that it is an abnormal condition occurs at runtime, so that next line of code will not be executed. Wherever the exception occurs, suppose as I told you that 50 line of code, it mid of the line. 50 line of code, mid means 25th line. There is an exception at runtime. So next line of code, 25th to 50 line, they will not be executed. There will be a stop of the flow of execution. That is called exceptions. Okay. So how to handle the exception that is very important. So here exceptions will be handled by try and catch blocks in Java. Okay, and one more keyword will be used finally. Try, catch, finally. In Python they will be try except blocks. They will be called as try except blocks. There also finally block is there. So let us try how to handle this exception. So that next line of code, so we will get the sum, print sum of this 6 plus 7 13. We need to get this value sum. Okay. So now what I am doing, little bit code I want to, wherever the exception is there, that line, you keep that line in try block. Okay. Try block must be in flower braces. Open brace, close brace. Under this open close brace means this is called try block. Many times I told you that block is nothing but some lines of code. Maybe 3 lines, 10 lines, 50 lines, 1000 lines. Under the try block, whatever the line of code you write,